Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to Plant Fit Meg. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I want to dive into batch cooking, and in this batch cooking video I'm preparing everything in one day, in one instance. In previous batch cooking videos I've separated it out throughout the week and showed you how I sometimes like to do that. So I will link my batch cooking playlist up here for some variations and some other options if you'd like to check it out. In this video I'm preparing a couple of starches. So I'll prepare rice and potatoes, and I will also share a couple of high protein recipes that I've really been enjoying lately, including my chickpea and lupini flour omelets, as well as my tofu steaks. I'll show you how I prepare everything, and I will include tips for keeping it as simple and easy and quick as possible so you can get in the kitchen, get everything prepped, and then get out of the kitchen and enjoy your life and get on with doing what you want to do and doing what you need to do. I'll also share how I like to meal prep these recipes and how I like to keep it a little bit flexible so that I can jazz them up in different ways and keep it fresh and keep it so that it's not like I'm eating the exact same thing every day. Lately, I've been finding that meal prepping has been really helpful in just simplifying my life and just prepping it so that everything is just ready to go and I can grab it and take it with me, or I can just grab it, reheat, and it's good to go. So definitely choose your own adventure, whether you want to do more of a batch cooking style or a meal prep. Either way, it's great to have healthy foods on hand that are prepped and ready to go. So as always, do what works for you. If you end up enjoying this video and you like videos like this, remember to give the video a like and leave me a comment below letting me know. With that, let's get right into cooking. All right, I'm starting off with my potatoes here because they're the most time consuming. I usually like to start with the things that will take the most amount of time and then proceed to the thing that will take the least amount of time. So I have about 10 potatoes here that I've already washed, and I'm going to go ahead and chop them into fries. Potatoes are absolutely one of my favorite foods. They're super filling, versatile, and always so delicious. I used to hate chopping things in the kitchen. I used to hate chopping vegetables, but I really don't mind it now. I think I've just gotten used to it, and it's really not a big deal. I find sometimes we build these things up in our heads as something that's a much bigger deal than it actually is, and then when you get into the rhythm of it, it's really not so bad. That said, let me know if you have one of those veggie choppers and if they're a worthwhile investment, because I have been curious about them, but I haven't invested in one yet, so let me know what you think. I'm putting my fries in a bowl here, adding some garlic powder, onion powder, Cajun seasoning, and a sprinkle of Mrs. Dash extra spicy seasoning. I didn't measure out the spices this time around, but this combination is really delicious with or without the extra spicy one. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up really thoroughly so that all of the potatoes are completely coated in the seasoning. So I'm popping these into my air fryer at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. I do tend to check on them at about the halfway mark or at the 15-minute mark, give them a little shake and allow them to cook for the rest of the time. When I'm making fries in the oven, I set the oven to 425 degrees, and I usually bake them for about 20 minutes, flip them, and bake for another 10 or so. So those potatoes will continue to cook while I go into making the next dish, but just for the sake of the continuity of the video, I'll show you what the fries look like when they're all done. So these are my fries all finished, ready to eat, delicious. Very excited about them. And next up, I'm preparing my chickpea omelets. They're delicious vegan egg patties, and they're super easy to make. Today I'm using red onion, red pepper, and orange peppers, but you can use any vegetables that you prefer in this kind of dish. The other ingredients for this recipe are chickpea flour, lupin flour, nutritional yeast, and black salt. If you can't find lupin flour and you don't have access to it, that's okay. You can just use all chickpea flour for the recipe, and that works well. The black salt does lend sort of that eggy flavor and eggy taste to the recipe, so I do recommend incorporating that in. I'm chopping up my red onion here. I love this color, it's so pretty. I won't be using all of the onion for this recipe, but I will chop the rest of it so that I can add the leftover onion to salads, sandwiches, or use it for other recipes. I like to chop once for multiple meals when I can to save time and energy. It may seem like more work up front, but then I only have to take out the veggies once, wash them once, chop and store them once, wash the dishes, and be done with it rather than having to do the same task multiple times. So in the end, it does save some time and energy. I can always pop the remaining veggies in the freezer as well if I don't think we'll get through them for the week. I'm doubling my recipe today so that I have lots of leftover and I can meal prep. So I'm using half a cup each of my onion, red pepper, and orange pepper. So a cup and a half of vegetables. You can choose your own adventure and mix that up. Use mushrooms, use different types of peppers, other things that you like, but that's what I'm going with today. Chopping up this lovely red pepper, so delicious, and orange pepper as well. I find sometimes when I'm making recipes and when I'm batch cooking, the hardest part is just getting started. It seems like, oh, I don't really feel like doing it. But then once I actually get into it, I actually kind of enjoy it and it's not so bad. And, you know, if I put on some good music or a podcast or something like that, then it makes the time go a lot faster and it makes it a lot more fun. So I'm setting aside my vegetables here. I have my bowl with my veggies for this recipe, and then I have my little black container with the leftover veggies for something else later in the week. I have my big blue bowl here. I'm going to add 1 cup each of chickpea flour and lupin flour. As I mentioned earlier, if you don't have access to lupin flour, that is okay. I've made this recipe using just chickpea flour and it does work out well. Adding half a cup of nutritional yeast and 2 teaspoons of black salt. I'm going to go ahead and mix that thoroughly. Now I'm adding 2 cups of water. You can also use soy milk for this step. I don't find it makes a huge difference, so it just depends if you want the extra protein and extra calories that the soy milk will provide, or if you'd rather just use water. Also, it makes the recipe a little bit more cost effective if you're just using water, so definitely choose your own adventure, experiment with it. I've also done half and half, and that works well too. So I'm going to mix this really thoroughly, add in my lovely vegetables, and mix it up again. I'm preheating my grill here to the griddle setting at 350 degrees. I have the Cuisinart griddler and I really enjoy this. It has served me well and I use it very often. I could have preheated the griddler earlier, but I like to allow this mix to just thicken up a little bit, so I usually just preheat it at this point in the process. Once the grill is preheated, I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of the omelet mixture onto the grill plates. I start with the grill that's not attached to the base because it's not as hot as the side that has the base attached to it. It doesn't make a huge difference, but I just like to do that because it's not as warm on that side. So I'm just going to use my 1/4 cup and measure out my omelets here. So I have 8 omelets on my griddle. I'm going to let them cook for about 5 minutes or until the top looks like it's almost drying a little bit on the top. That's an indication that it is ready to flip. So it's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and flip these. You can see on the surface they look a little bit darker than when I first poured them, and that's because they're a little bit dry on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these. Sometimes they do fall apart a little bit, but I do find that for the most part they hold up really well and they're easy to flip and easy to work with. I maybe could have let these cook for another minute or so just to make them a little bit easier to flip, but I don't hugely mind if my meals aren't super beautiful and super stunning and quote unquote Instagram worthy. This is my real life. This is how things look in my kitchen, so I'm just keeping it real for you guys. I'm going to let those cook for another 5 minutes or so, and then they will be all done and ready to go. And this is what they look like at the end. I have enough here for another batch, so I'm scooping again with using my 1/4 cup, adding the mixture 1/4 cup at a time onto my grill. I'm going to let those cook for another 5 minutes or so, and then they will be all done and ready to go. Next up, I'm going to prepare my rice. If you've been on the channel before and you've seen one of my batch cooking videos, or maybe even a what I eat in a day video, you've probably seen me make rice in the Instant Pot before, but it is my favorite way to cook rice and make it really fluffy and delicious every time, and I can just set it and forget it and not have to stand over it. So I'm adding 2 cups of rice to my Instant Pot with 2.5 cups of water. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on the Instant Pot, secure it in place, and set it to sealing. Set it on the manual setting for 22 minutes, and then it'll beep to say that it's good to go, and I can just let it do its thing, and it'll cook the rice, and it's almost like magic because it just always turns out the same way and always works beautifully every single time, and I love having not to stand over it and babysit it. So again, while this rice is cooking, I will be working on my next recipe, but just for the sake of the video, I will show you my lovely, fluffy, completed rice right now. Okay, next up are my tofu steaks. I absolutely love these. It is so simple, just such an easy recipe, and my whole family loves it, so it's just been on repeat for a while. I do have a whole video already about this recipe and going through the entire process, so I will link that up in the cards and in the description box below so you can take a look at that. In that video, I believe I also prepare other air-fried tofu recipes, so go check that out. But I will zip through it here as well, just so you can see how I put it together for my batch cooking for the week. So I'm mixing up the ingredients in my glass dish here. I have 2 tablespoons of reduced sodium soy sauce and 1 tablespoon each of nutritional yeast and steak spice in this glass dish. I have my tofu here that I've pressed with a paper towel and some books on top just to get some of the excess moisture out. I chopped it into steaks, into like little triangles this time around, but I've also done tofu steak bites that are really delicious. It's the exact same recipe, it's just the tofu chopped in a bit of a different way. Somehow when I eat it in a different format, like chopped in a different way, it seems like I'm eating a different recipe. I don't know, maybe that's just a me thing and kind of odd and unusual, but I find it just does keep things fresh a little bit in terms of just making me feel like I'm eating something a little bit different, even if I make the same tofu steaks one week and then make them again the following week in a different shape. I don't know, somehow it makes it seem special and makes it seem like it's something a little bit different, even though it's the exact same recipe. Let me know if you feel the same way about that, or if you think that that's quite silly and doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in my air fryer for 10 minutes, flip, and then air fry for another 5 minutes. And I do set the air fryer at 400 degrees. If I was popping these into my oven, I would bake them at 425 for 15 minutes, flip, and bake for another 5 minutes. And after the 5 minutes, the tofu steaks are all done. Easy as that. So this is my delicious batch cooking for the week. I have my potatoes, which I chopped into these lovely fries, and they're so yummy. I have my chickpea omelets, my brown rice, and my tofu steaks. And so in this instance, I batch prepped it and I just left it as batch cooking for the week so that I could mix and match and my family could mix and match. We also had some curry and noodles left over. I thought I would just mention this was something that was already in our fridge and something we were using up from the week previous. Just showing some serving suggestions here. We love to make sandwiches or wraps with the chickpea omelets, but they're also great just with potatoes and veggies on your plate. So next up, I'll show you some meal prep that I did. So with my tofu steaks this time around, I chopped them up into bite-sized pieces, like I was mentioning before, and I added them to my containers along with my rice and some mixed vegetables. And you might be wondering, where did those vegetables come from? I didn't see you prepare those earlier. What I do is I keep frozen vegetables on hand so that it's really easy to just prepare them super quickly, either on the stovetop or in the microwave, and they're just ready to go in minutes. Another way I like to jazz things up is to add different sauces to it. So that kind of can also keep it fresh and make it seem like it's a different meal, even though it's the same ingredients. Also switching out the vegetables. I hope you really enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Thank you so much for clicking on it and watching through right until the end. I really appreciate you. Let me know what you've been enjoying batch cooking or meal prepping lately. I would love to hear about what has been enjoyable for you and what recipes you've been enjoying and what kind of meals you've been making. I always find that really interesting to see what other people are doing. Also, let me know what you'd like to see on the channel next, and leave any questions in the comment section below. I am planning a Q&A video shortly, so feel free to contribute to that either here or over on Instagram, and I'll collect all the frequently asked questions and answer them in a video upcoming shortly. Remember to like this video if you liked it and subscribe to the channel below if you haven't already and you'd like to see more of my face. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Also, if you noticed a bit of a discrepancy in this video with my nails in the intro and outro versus the content of the actual video, I forgot to film the intro and outro. I thought I already had, and then when I went to edit, I realized, oh, I don't have an intro and outro for this video. So I'm actually filming that after I have already filmed the batch cooking portion. So if you did notice that little discrepancy with my nails, congratulations, you are very observant and pay very close attention to detail, and that's why that little discrepancy exists. YouTuber problems.